Right. Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. We're talking about the number one source of calories for the average American adult. Take a guess what it is for a moment. It is baked goods. So there's a reason why keto is probably one of the top most popular diets right now, because it directly addresses this. It basically cuts out baked goods. So you're probably going to lose weight. So if this is one of the top sources for you, you want to start strategizing specifically to this. And there's a couple ways you can do this. But the first thing is understand, why are baked goods so addictive, and why are they such a high source of calories? And the big reason is that it's basically flour and sugar and fat. And so these are three addictive things to the human body. And when we put them all together in a tasty little package, it's hard not to keep eating them. So you want to have a real specific eye, I think, out for baked goods: flour, sugar, fat. Flour, sugar, butter, typically, or some version of those three things. And the more you start to identify when you're eating those, because sometimes they can sneak in and they can sneak their way into our eating all day long. And so you want to really start to focus on them and recognize when you're eating baked goods: flour, sugar, butter. And once you start to recognize where it's coming, then you want to start to obviously minimize it. And I suggest this because typically what people do is an all or nothing mindset, where they're going to completely cut out carbs totally. But there's no reason to cut all your carbs out. What you really want to focus on is refined carbs: flour, sugars, and butter in that combination. And once you start focusing on those and start reducing those, the other carbs really aren't the same. So again, it's important to recognize the difference between refined carbs and natural carbs. Natural carbs are fine for you. It's the refined carbs that are the big problem, because we can consume so much of them so obsessively, because that is very addictive for most people. So again, my suggestion to you is not to completely cut out refined carbs and baked goods, but to start to compress when you are eating them. And so an easy way to do this is to say, maybe I'll have a cookie after dinner. I'll have some, cookies during the weekend, and start to block out times of your day and of your week where you're not going to eat any baked goods. And you work up to this, so at first, for me, it used to be a toasted peanut butter and cereal. I'd have a, croissant, donut, muffin. I'd have my lunch and then a cookie after that. I'd have my, afternoon snack, which was usually some sort of cookie and candy, and then a snack and dessert after dinner and beyond. And so if your eating is anything like that, where it's just kind of baked goods all over the place all day, night long, what we want to do is first start working on, again, compressing it. And you can work on the breakfast is a good place to start. I think you get more bang for your buck when you focus on the beginning of the day and optimizing that, because it sets you up foundationally for a successful rest of the day. So if your eating is anything like that, start to compress your eating by creating bigger windows of time where you're not consuming any baked goods. And again, this is a different way to approach it. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, because what we're aiming for here is long-term results, not just rapid results that we can't maintain, but creating strategies and systems that will last us a lifetime. And this is what I'm saying. If you start to compress your eating windows into after dinner, after lunch, or, on the weekends, you figure out what works best for you. What's your most enjoyable baked good? Keep that and work to start eliminating the rest of them. If you approach it this way, what you're going to do is you're most likely going to reduce drastically your number one source of calorie consumption if you're anything like the average American. So give this some thought. And again, it's a two-step process where at first you create awareness, start to recognize all the times you're eating it, because a lot of that may be outside of your awareness. And then the second thing is to start to optimize your eating by compressing when you eat the baked goods and expanding the windows of time when you don't eat them at all. And if you start down this road today, a month from now, 2 months from now, you're going to be amazed at how much of a shift you can make in how you're eating and ultimately in your weight. So I hope this helps you out. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. Let's see. If I missed anyone. And I saw one. Oh, there it is. What's up, Mario? How's it going? Happy to see you. I was just thinking of you today. I got that video to watch, that Olivia Standria. I'm going to watch that today. Mandy, I was just thinking about you. I saw someone that reminded me of you today, and I was just thinking of you. Hope everything's going well. What's up, Karen? How's it going? Auntie's in hospital, so it's been horrendous. I'm sorry to hear that, Mandy. So yeah, that's challenging, right? So Mandy's been in the program for a little bit here, and so, geez, what do you last time I talked to you, Mandy, you were down like 40, 50 pounds. But the interesting thing about Mandy's story, as a lot of my clients' stories, is that it wasn't just a straight line of success. There was challenges along the way. And here's another challenge. So I'm sorry you got to deal with that, and you're kind of in it, right? You've had a challenging 6 months here, I would say. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, you've been there every day nonstop. All right. Yeah. So this is such a good example, though. And again, I'm sorry you have to deal with this, but this really highlights something that I'm always talking about, that when all of a sudden, someone you're close to is sick and in the hospital and you have to go there every day now. So all of a sudden it's like this bomb goes off in your life, right? You're living your normal life. And now all of a sudden everything gets thrown upside down. In those situations, you're not going to stay keto. You're not going to eat 1,200 calories a day. You're not going to, not eat for 16 hours. You see what I mean? Like, so again, and this is life. I mean, that's a drastic example, but there's always things throwing us off balance, preventing us from being able to follow these absolutely ideal, perfect plans. It's just not going to happen long term. And so I think the much better approach is to go into your weight loss, reframing it as weight mastery, something that you're going to work on for the rest of your life, and start to systematically and strategically improve the different aspects of your eating and lifestyle that affect your weight. So that even when your life gets thrown upside down, you may not eat as well as when it's not, but you're still on track somewhat. That's what I'm trying to tell you all, is that the day you start walking the weight mastery path is like the greatest day of your life, because from that point forward, it's not this razor's edge you're walking, right? Because with dieting with so many people, it's this razor's edge of, well, as long as everything's perfect, I'll follow the plan perfectly and I'll lose weight and everything's perfect, I'll keep doing it perfectly. It's like life isn't perfect. So the second a dieter experiences some turbulence in any capacity with their eating, with their life, whatever, all of a sudden they're blown off course completely. And now it might be months or years till they get back on track again. You've got to get off that path. And the weight mastery path says, we know the bullshit's coming. It's coming. And so we want to create a system of mastering our weight within the context of understanding that life is kind of constantly kind of punching us in the gut. And so we need strategies that we can sustain without needing 100% focus, like a keto plan does, or tracking every single calorie does. That takes so much time and effort that it's not sustainable during life's challenges. Okay. Oh, thank you, Mandy. So again, this just highlights such a huge part of the puzzle that so many dieters just overlook, because they're in this idea that, well, if they're going to lose weight, they're going to do it perfectly. Maybe for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but life's not perfect, and it's not going to be possible if you just stay perfect. And so by looking at it that way and approaching it that way, you really are setting yourself up for failure. So again, as bad as I feel for Mandy, she's got to deal with this. I also know that the way she's approached her weight loss, she's still in the game. And on top of that, she's learned strategies, lifestyle strategies, mindset strategies that are going to support her during this difficult time to get through it in the easiest, most effective way possible. So again, this is the mindset piece of what I'm talking about within context, of something we can all appreciate, I think. So I always like to find examples to talk about that, because we don't hear about that very much. Yeah, Mandy says, I go from 10 to 9 p.m. Oh my goodness, Mandy. Well, I'm proud of you, and I'm happy you can go, so that's amazing. As always, you lift me up, Jim. Thank you. You're welcome, Mandy. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. So, if you can, hop on one of the calls and I'll, we could talk about it a little bit. But even, getting on here, I'm here every day, noon. So even here is good to see you. Yeah, Mario. Yeah, I'll talk about it tomorrow. I will talk about that video tomorrow. And I will, check out my YouTube. I'm kind of in a weird limbo with my YouTube. I have 2 YouTube channels. I'm always weird today. I have my Jim Katsoulis one, and I have my Program Yourself Thin one. And I've kind of been kicking around the idea of using the Program Yourself Thin one more. I don't know. I'll see. The reason I mention that is I will do a reaction video on that regardless, or I'll talk about it on the live and I'll just cut that part out and make a video specifically for it. But yeah, watch tomorrow, Mario, and I'll talk about that, because you kind of got me curious now. I want to see it, but I love giving, my take on some of that stuff. Because again, at least it's a different view, and that's always helpful. Mandy says, bless you. Yeah, you've been in my ears all the way through the hospital. I've been working and keeping on it. Yeah, great job, Mandy. And that's what it is. Yeah, so Mandy, and again, the big thing, and I think we've talked about this with other challenges, but I always tell people, like, when you hit periods of stress, You lose a loved one, someone you love gets sick, you move, you lose a job, get a job, you have a baby, there's all these big events in life. Some are good or some are bad, but regardless, they take a lot of energy, mental, physical, and mental. Physical and mental, mental, physical, and emotional. And so during those times, it really ought to be less about weight loss and more about getting through the challenging times in the most effective way possible. And so for you, Mandy, listening to the hypnosis sessions and the hypnosis library could probably help you out a lot here, because again, it's not so much about weight loss, but it's really about relaxing, calming down, centering, feeling grateful even in a challenging situation, things like that. So yeah, I'm glad to be able to help you through the hypnosis sessions. What's up, Connie? How's it going? Hello, Amy. Not sure which time I always say that. Usually Amy in America is AMY, but there's no rules anymore. It could be AMI as Amy or Ami. I don't know. Marie says, do you think we need to recalculate the calorie deficit once you lose a chunk of weight? I mean, I don't really think and approach weight loss this way because I prefer a more intuitive approach. Now, I want to be clear. I don't mean intuitive eating. I don't think any overweight person can just go straight into relying on intuitive eating right off the bat, because your intuitions are that of an overweight person. Okay. That being said, I think that the intuitive approach that I like to use is I've never used a calorie calculator. It's all a guesstimate anyways. So I prefer to look at how I typically eat and then stabilize that and then work to cut down what I'm eating strategically. If that makes sense. So it's like, I want to eat the same way. This is where, so with my clients, when we start with the Program Yourself Thin, it's very different than a diet, because most diets, you start day one doing something drastic, whether it's tracking every calorie, cutting out half your calories down to 1,200, cutting out carbs, cutting out sugar, tracking every point, whatever it is. You start day one, I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to huge calorie deficit. And it's overwhelming, to say the least. So I would rather you do everything the same way you're doing, but we pick your worst eating habit and we focus on that. We go to work on your worst eating habit, because everything that I do with my clients is built around weight mastery, meaning my goal for you is not to lose weight. My goal for you is to get to your goal weight and then live the rest of your life at your goal weight on near autopilot. That on near autopilot is the really important part. So it's like, I want you to get to your goal weight and then stay there for the rest of your life pretty naturally, without having to diet, without having to exercise like crazy, without having to track points, without having to use calorie calculators. So how do you make that happen? Well, you start building around your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is not the part of your mind that tracks calories. It's the part of your mind that runs your habitual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, including your eating. So again, I take a completely different approach. I like to just start where you're at with your eating, and then we work at your worst eating habit and work on resolving that. And once we get that, we kind of see what happens with the weight. And once you get that under control, move on to the next eating habit. Get that under control. The difference here is that, again, with the dieting thing, you're trying to change everything intentionally with your conscious mind. And you can do it for a little bit of time until you run out of steam. And then you go back to what? Your automatic behaviors. So a Program Yourself Thin, it's a completely different approach, because we're looking to reprogram your subconscious mind so that you naturally are able to manage your new weight on your autopilot. So again, I know this is not a satisfying answer to your question. I understand that, but I like to answer questions. Sometimes I have to exit the current paradigm, and the current paradigm you're in is that of a dieter, where you're going to get your calorie calculator and you take your TDE into account, and you're going to put all those numbers in, and you're going to figure out those numbers, and then you're going to put those calories in. You're going to start eating those calories. You're going to lose the weight just like the calorie calculator says. And I hate to tell you this, but it's not going to work that way. The calorie calculator is just a guesstimate, and your body's you and yours alone. So a calorie calculator is right some of the time and wrong a lot of the time, because people lose weight at different rates and speeds for a million different reasons. So I think, Maria, if you use and depend on the calorie calculator the way I see a lot of people do it, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment. That's what I think. And so now I'll give you the just simple answer, though. Do you think you need to recalculate the calorie deficit once you lose a chunk of weight? Yeah, because your TDE kind of lower a little bit. So you might have to take that into account. Amy said, I had a question about something. I have a problem with my eating. Well, ask the question. I'll answer it. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm here for. I say this each and every day, Jim. I'm going to be your biggest success story. I hope you're looking after yourself and well. I am. I'm doing great. And you, Mandy, you're already at the top of the list of success stories. So you're already a success, and you become more of a success every day. You're awesome. Yeah, I'm looking after myself. I'm doing great. I am doing super duper. In New England, where I live, well, geez, you're in London, so you get this, but I guess you only get one frame of weather, which is rainy and cold all year round. But where I live, it's New England, and so it's always transitioning, which I like. Okay, so we're coming out of the winter, and now everything's turning green. The leaves are coming out, and it is always such a boost to the spirits, and so it's exciting. It's a fun time of year, always. It's the same as Amy. Okay, yeah, I just spelled weird. I got you. My parents wanted to be quirky. That's how it is. I mean, I can't joke. My two kids have silly names. So I get it. Yeah. Okay, Amy. Right. Yeah. Ask your question, Amy. I can answer it for you. Mandy says, PYT gave me a new lease on life. It made me look at the bigger picture as opposed to just the weight. Yeah. And Mandy tried everything. She'd done all the stuff, just like most of my clients have. As we joke, no one starts off with the hypnotist to lose weight. You end up with the hypnotist, So Mandy had tried all the typical things, the crazy stuff. And so it's been exciting to watch her master her weight finally, with this new approach, obviously. So that's great, Mandy. Connie says, family coming in, including in-laws, yikes, for a celebration. There'll be cake, bagels, and pasta. We'll be using all the calming techniques. Yeah, Connie, that's perfect. And it becomes, I was thinking this. I just got a new guitar, and it's been really fun. It's always fun to get a new guitar, especially like a magic guitar. You get a magic guitar occasionally, and I'm getting one. I got one. And so the reason I mention that is it just reinforces to me that it's been so valuable in my life to approach my weight in the similar way that I approached the guitar. And the way I approach the guitar is I always think of it as I'm always just building on my skills. I'm always looking to get better. And I think if you approach your weight that way, it's so freeing, because the diets have really conditioned you to think it's this black or white, all or nothing, just be this way or be that way. But in reality, how you eat, ultimately what your weight consists of is really how you eat consistently, how you live consistently, how you think consistently. And all these things are primarily subconscious oriented processes. And so for Connie here, I would not look at family coming out and celebrations and all this food being around. I wouldn't look at myself as like, oh, I got to stay on a diet when they come out. I don't look at it that way. I make those days pleasure days, and I use the techniques that I've got, my calming techniques, like you mentioned, and especially the rehearsal and the redo technique. You get a lot of opportunity to use it there. And if you can let go of trying to force yourself to eat a certain way while they're here, and instead focus on keeping yourself connected to the best Connie you want to be. Who's the best version of you that you can imagine in that scenario? And clearly we know for you, Connie, part of that is being calm, being centered, being grounded. The more calm you are, things naturally flow out of that in the right direction. You naturally think better, live better, eat better when you're more calm. So for me, I would take a lot of the energy off of forcing myself to eat well, and I would dedicate as much into being calm and relaxed, and using the rehearsal technique to prepare myself to be the person I wanted to be within that situation. But this situation is also an outlier. So again, you're not going to eat as well in this situation as you do in your normal life, most likely. So again, you use it as a learn. And everything you're saying sounds perfect. So I'm just reiterating everything you kind of already mentioned. But really do the rehearsal and redo technique a lot, while also developing and reinforcing being calm and relaxed during this time that they're there. All right. So I'm excited for you to get to practice all this in a challenging situation. Right. D Jackson says, how do you learn to listen to your body for hunger signals different from just eating? Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that's the beginning of really mastering your weight, is creating a wonderful, healthy relationship with your hunger. And I think a lot of dieters have a very unhealthy relationship with their hunger. It's so messed up. It's crazy. Thanks, Erica. Because, for so many reasons, dieters aren't connected to their hunger because they're just following a plan that's not even built for them. Okay. And so they're like, okay, this is the new plan, whatever it may be. No carbs, no eat for 16 hours, whatever it is. So they're basically ignoring their hunger. They're fighting against their hunger. And the next piece is that deep down, dieters want to be as hungry as possible because they think the hungrier I am, the more weight I'll lose quickly. And so it's a short-term focus. So being able to interface with your hunger to me is such a crucial piece of the puzzle. And you probably suck at it. You probably are scared to be hungry. You're probably worried that if you get hungry, you're going to eat everything because that's what you've done in the past. The secret to understanding hunger is to understand the hunger scale. 0 to 10. 0 is starving, 10 is stuffed. And we want to have some awareness of where we're at in that hunger scale throughout the day. So instead of just saying like, oh, I'm not going to eat today and I'm going to fight against my hunger, you get up in the morning and you pay attention where your hunger is at, and you get it up to a 3-4 and just surf that 3-4 of hunger all day long. That's a slight level of hunger where you'll probably most likely start losing weight, but you're still in control. What a lot of dieters do is they get themselves so hungry that eventually they binge. Okay. And so I think understanding your hunger is really important. So how do you figure that out? I think it's really experimentation and paying attention. I think the best way to do it is you start to structure your eating. So in Program Yourself Thin, the core of the program is the eating blueprint and the Program Yourself Thin technique. But the eating blueprint is literally a blueprint that you create and follow to get to your goal weight and stay there the rest of your life. And one of the reasons it's so effective is it starts to help you develop awareness of, let's just say, for example, if I eat a donut and some home fries for breakfast, I'll be very hungry an hour or two after that. If I eat my Ezekiel toast with natural peanut butter and apple, natural peanut butter, and drink my water, I'll be satisfied till about noon. So I know that because I've paid attention to where I'm at with the hunger. So in order to really understand your hunger, you need to have some stable eating pattern, though. You can't just go every day you start and just see where you're at. You're never going to do that. You can't be an intuitive eater, I believe, in America. There's too much food around. I think you need to structure your eating, personally. But I think the way you structure your eating is you figure out which foods satisfy you till the next meal that you're going to eat. And you start to have some sense of what breakfast gets you to lunch comfortably, what lunch gets you to dinner comfortably, what dinner gets you to the following breakfast comfortably. And I think once you've cracked that code, man, you're so much further along with your weight loss than you are without that. So, how do you listen to your body for hunger signals? The first thing is, I think you got to structure your eating a bit, because you're not going to know. I'll give you a shortcut though. Are you hungry or bored? Well, do you want to eat the apple and banana? No, not really. Then you're bored. If you're really hungry, you'll want to eat the apple and banana. Now, again, I'm using the apple and banana as a, you get what I mean, I hope. But that's a good way to start to understand what's really hunger and what's not. If you want to play with some fasting, play with some fasting windows just to see what real hunger feels like. That's not a bad idea either. Does your body release weight more when you're in a resting state? I'm not a big fan. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know enough about the science of when your body releases more weight. I do believe, if you're asking, and I don't know if this is what you mean, but I do believe being more relaxed and calm in general is going to support your weight loss. But why? Well, sure, there's a biochemical benefit, no doubt. Cortisol levels go down, other hormonal things are impacted. That might support you. But at the end of the day, I believe being more calm and relaxed, being less stressed and reactive, you're going to make better food choices typically. And that's what's going to lead to a lot of the weight loss. So that's what you're asking. Amy says, I'm suddenly started eating out of control. I'm only 16. I feel so ashamed because I'm already overweight. Yep. I should get the TikTok thing here now. Well, sometimes when we get out of control with the eating, it happens. Okay. And the secret to that is to understand, why are we getting out of control? I want to know. And there's a million reasons why a person could get out of control with their eating, but we don't want to just say, I got out of control. It's rarely that simple. There's usually some reasons for it. And I think the more you know what those reasons are, the better off you are, because you're seeing things more clearly. So are you going through a stressful time in life? Have you not been feeling well? For women, they have their periods. That could affect it. You could have started eating a lot more sugar this weekend and it kind of triggered over into the week, so there's a lot of reasons why. And I think I will tell you, feeling shame is a big trigger for overeating for a lot of people. The sooner you get rid of shame, in relation to your weight, the better off you'll be. It doesn't help in any way. I would tell you, if feeling lots of shame helped you to lose weight, I would be sitting here shaming you all. I promise. Because all I care about is the things that work. But it doesn't work. It creates the opposite effect. The more shame you feel, you can set a countdown clock. As soon as you start feeling shame and beating yourself up, I just set a clock to when you're about to binge next. That's how I think of it. So I think that you let go of the shame, you start to understand, why have I been eating out of control? What's been going on? Not, oh, what's wrong with me? What's been happening lately that I think's been leading to it? And again, there's a million reasons why. I couldn't even go through them all. Why do people overeat out of control? There's just so many reasons. So I couldn't give you like one simple answer to how to fix it, because there's a lot of reasons why it could be happening. So we got to understand the root causes of what's creating this to come up with a more strategic, custom fit solution. And I think that approach is always going to get you better results than more vaguely describing it. What's up, Jody? Yeah, Jody's in New England too. So nice weather finally. I know everyone in New England, like, weather is the topic of conversation all the time. But I think it is because it's like, it really is 4 seasons. And so it's always different. And I think, people in New England though, like when the spring comes around, man, they're feeling good. I certainly am. It's warm. It's getting nice. It's nice. Should I weigh every day? Isn't that stressful for the process? Sophie asks. I think you should weigh every day. I weighed every day when I was losing weight. But that being said, there's no right or wrong. There's only what works for you. Now, I think the worst thing you can do is weigh yourself once a week. I think that's the cruelest, meanest thing you can do to yourself, because your body weight fluctuates. And if you step on the scale one Monday and you're 2 pounds down, and you step on the scale the next Monday and you're 2 pounds up for whatever reason, you ate a little bit of salt, less salt, whatever, it could be a million reasons, you're gonna be real depressed. You ate well and all the rest of it, it looks like you put 2 pounds on or 4 pounds on. You might have lost a pound or 2 pounds. So I think weighing yourself once a week is the worst. Now, the stress for the process. Well, a lot of people presuppose that the scale is extremely stressful. It's in control of me. That scale triggers me. And it's like, yeah, well, the scale's not the problem. The problem is you don't know how to lose weight. And the scale just reveals that problem. Right? You're not scared of looking at your speedometer in your car because you know how to speed up and slow down. You're not scared of the scale for any other reason that you don't know how to even lose weight. Literally don't know how to lose weight. Just because you know you shouldn't eat carbs or you have some vague ass ideas what you should do, you don't know the nuts and bolts of how to master your weight. And so the scale just reveals that. And so I think if you got all this built up emotion about a scale, I think you should examine that, because that emotion's there. And I don't think it's supporting you. If you're so terrified about your weight, you're so worried, if I step on the scale, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if you step on the scale? You know what I mean? It's just such a position of weakness that people have with the scale. You're the one that's in fucking control. You're the ones in control what the scale says. The scale is just a feedback mechanism. It's just another data point. And I know you don't think this way because you're taught to be this helpless, weakless, dieting failure. That's what you're conditioned to do by the diets. You're conditioned to be a failure with the diet mindset. And the scale is just one piece of that whole failure mindset that the diets have instilled in you. Why would the diets instill you to have a failure mindset, you may ask? Because all the big diets that you're learning from are all owned by the food companies. Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. Atkins Food Products is owned by the same company as Carvel Ice Cream and Cinnabon. Slim Fast is owned by the same company that owned Ben & Jerry's ice cream. These companies don't want you to lose weight and eat less of their shitty foods. Do you think that? They like getting you coming and going. They like filling your head with rocks when you want to go to a diet. And they got you so flummoxed and lost that you don't know where to start. And it shows up all over the place. So, yeah, I know it's stressful for the average person, but I would prefer the scale. I'd rather reframe it, and I'd rather feel in control and powerful. I'd rather work through all that subconscious emotion and fear and terror and stress. How the fuck are you ever going to master your weight if you look at a scale and have a panic attack? Do you know what I mean? Like you'd have to answer that for me. I don't know. But I don't accept the premise that the scale's the master and that the scale's in control. And you're just this scared little person who has to You just the scale. I hate that posturing, and I think it's weak, and I think it sets you up for failure. So, Connie says, I'm actually really interested in doing reading rehearsal over this weekend. Yeah, Connie, exactly. Calm and relaxed around mother-in-law. Do you have a specific hypnosis for that? I should do that. You're right. Like just people in general that trigger us being relaxed. That's a good idea. I will put it on the docket. When it'll happen, you just never know. Hypno session. Relaxed around triggering people. That's a great one. So maybe I'll get one of those set for you. If I get that going, Connie, I'll let you know on the live there. Because you're right. That'd be a good one. And I love what you're saying, because it really is, if you start approaching things not just basing yourself on how you do on the weekend, but basing all the things on what you learned and growed and evolved and distinguished, distinctions you made along the way. I think that attitude is an attitude of mastery. So I like what you're saying, Connie. Do you know anything about lipedema? Does it make losing weight harder? I don't know a lot about lipedema. I do know that that's like that is one condition people will reference to me when I say that your eating is a reflection, your weight's a reflection of your eating. I might get that sometimes. So I don't know enough about it. So I don't like to talk about things I don't know. I don't work with, I want to make crystal clear that obviously I'm not a doctor. So I'm sure there are some medical conditions that really mess with your metabolism, but they're very rare. I will let you know that too. And most of the time people are walking around thinking they have some conditions going to prevent them from losing weight when that's not the case at all. It just becomes confirmation bias because it's easier to believe in some crazy situation or disease that's preventing you from losing weight than to actually kind of be honest with yourself and do the work to actually master your mindset, lifestyle, and eating. So King of Queens says, how do you get rid of belly fat? I mean, I think I find it odd. The spot reduction stuff is weird to me. The way you get rid of belly fat is you consume less calories than you have been. So keep it simple. Amy says, Mom always tells me I'm chubby and I just wanted to start eating healthier and less, but it kind of backfired and now I'm eating more than ever. Yeah, Amy, I mean, that's the classic dieter thing. It's called the counter-regulatory effect. It's basically the more restrict we get with eating for a little bit, the more it kind of blows up eventually. This is why I'm telling you, the diet industry has conditioned you to be overweight by thinking like a dieter. The best way you could stay overweight forever is to keep going through phases where you drastically restrict the food. It conditions you to be overweight. It gets you obsessed with food, and the restriction always breaks by way overeating, and then you get way off course. And so the secret, again, is not to drastically restrict in the first place. So, Amy, though, this is really important because as you give more description and explanation of what led to the eating out of control, you see how there's way more context now. So, again, we got to do this, folks. Most dieters describe their problems in really vague terms, which makes it almost impossible to truly come up with a solution and answer to them. So the first step of really mastering your weight is asking better questions, more solution-oriented questions, more specific, contextually oriented questions. So, Leonora, so how often should we weigh ourselves? I mean, when I was losing weight, I weighed myself every day. I like weighing myself every day. To me, it's like, I think there's a fine line. Well, let's talk about obsession. If you really want to master your weight, you're going to have to at least get mildly obsessed with eating, your lifestyle, and your mindset. I think that's that. If you want to get better at anything, don't you have to get mildly obsessed with it? So I understand what getting, because I understand like the weight conversation in this culture is very interesting to me because I know there's all the old baggage of people being judged solely because of their weight. And just all the superficial nature of it and the shame and the shittiness. And I hate all that stuff. Okay. But what I'm talking about is if you want to master your weight because you believe that your weight, what you're eating consistently, how you're living is going to be the biggest impact on how long you live and your quality of life while you're alive. If you believe that that's true and that's why you want to master your weight, then I think you better dedicate at least enough energy that it would be considered a mild obsession. Because shit, you're obsessed with fucking TV. You're obsessed with your phone. You're obsessed with other things in your life. And so I'm obsessed, no doubt, with my health and my eating and how I feel. Am I a health nut? Am I crazy? Am I unbalanced? Am I weird? I don't think so. But I'm certainly, it's at the forefront of my mind. It's very important to me. Why? Well, my dad died at 54 of a heart attack. I think a lot of that had to do with his lifestyle, his mindset, and how he ate and his weight. So for me, I really want to live as long as I can. It's really important to me. So just like I brush my teeth twice a day, if I wanted to lose weight, and when I did lose weight, I'll step on the scale once a day. It's the tools of the trade. I want to play guitar and I want to get better at guitar. I pick the guitar up every day. Could you say I'm mildly obsessed with it? Sure. I think that's a nice place to be. It's where I am right now. At some point with guitar, I'll get majorly obsessed with it. But for right now, where I want to be, mildly obsessed. So I've been majorly obsessed with my weight and my health. Now I would say I'm medium obsessed with it. I mean, but it's my job too. So there's a blur line there. But anyway, so I don't know. Me personally, I weigh myself. I did weigh myself every day. I don't now because I've stabilized everything. It doesn't make, I don't step on the scales. It doesn't change. You know, I kind of set cruise control for myself. I live and eat the similar way consistently and my weight stays the same. I know when my behaviors fall out of alignment a little bit, the weight will go up and then I might use it as a scale just to kind of see where I'm at. But my lifestyle's dialed in. I'm an eating blueprint that I follow and it keeps me at the goal weight I want to be at. So, but I don't know, like I'm a big believer every day, but I know people, oh, you get obsessed with it. Yeah. Well, there's getting obsessed with your weight because you want to be the skinniest, thinnest person you could possibly be because you think that's going to make you the greatest person ever and everyone's going to love you and you're going to look great and everything's going to be awesome. Or what I'm talking about here has nothing to do with that. Or you want to weigh yourself every day because your weight is so important to you because you believe that, again, what you're eating every day, what your weight is, what your level of health is, how you're living is probably going to be the biggest thing impacting how long you live and your quality of life while you're here. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm so tired of people attacking me. Oh, you almond dad, you just do care about you shallow. And that's not true. That's not true. And I can't believe it's 2024, 72% of the population is overweight or obese. But I sit here and I got to qualify when I talk about getting really focused on your weight as if it's a bad thing. And I get it is with that other context. But in the context I'm talking about, I think it's the most important thing. So yeah, I weigh myself every day. Does exercise work for weight loss? It does. I mean, exercise is great. Someone wrote to me, and if you're listening to the podcast, I saw your comments about how you wish I would mention exercise more. And I do believe in exercise, but I will tell you that I have not been a beacon of exercising. So I'm not going to talk about shit that I don't do. I talk about things that I do. And so what I do is I have mastered my weight by mastering my eating and my lifestyle. Now I'm active, but I have never exercised consistently. I do yoga consistently, but nothing like not the traditional exercising. And I think I'd be better off if I did. So I'm not denigrating in any way. I think exercising is great. I'm just not someone who has enjoyed exercising. I anticipate in my life I will exercise more because there's going to be a need for it, muscle-wise and all the rest of it. So that being said, I personally know for a fact you do not need to exercise to lose weight. If you want to exercise to feel better, to tone up, to build muscle, for other reasons, knock yourself out. But you do not need to exercise to lose weight. You just need to reduce your average calorie consumption. And you can do that with exercise or without exercise. So again, it's up to you. If you want to exercise for other reasons, go ahead. But a lot of times when we exercise, again, it's called the licensing effect. There's an opposite reaction. Because every time you start exercising, and again, if you're listening to me, I already know you're an overthinker and you're an overachiever and you do things all the way when you do it. And so if you're going to start exercising intensely, it's how much benefit are you going to get? Because the exercise is going to make you tired. It's going to make you hungrier. It's going to make you sore and potentially injured. And these are true things for you all. You start off so fast. I know that's what happens typically. And now your chances of burning yourself out go way up. So we have to take that into account too. I'm not saying don't exercise. I think exercising is great. I'm saying that it's not absolutely necessary. And most of the clients I work with are busy. They don't want to exercise a lot. And so my strategy and my system is really built more about getting your eating under control. So, exercise certainly can help for weight loss, obviously. Be careful of the secondary effects of it that are negative. The tired, hungry, sore, injury possibility. Be aware of those things. But again, I'm not saying don't exercise, but you don't need to exercise. So that. Do you believe in intermittent fasting? I believe in intermittent fasting as I intermittent fast. So before I even go on my spiel here, I intermittent fast, but I came up with it on my own 30 years ago. And I think that's the big difference here is me, when I started doing is I wanted to create a bigger window between when I went to bed and when I stopped eating. And so I used to eat right up until bed, and I started creating a bigger window. And eventually I called it nighttime fasting. And eventually it turned into, I'll stop eating 6, 7 o'clock at night, start eating the next day, 7, 8 o'clock. But I built up to it, and I did it in a way that was more based around, I was feeling better and better. I was sleeping better. I was losing weight. I was waking up feeling better. So all that was good. I think that the issue I have with intermittent fasting as it's taught today is it's taught like a diet. And so a lot of people just jump right into 16 hours of not eating. And it's like, it's so overwhelming. It's such a drastic shift in how you eat and how you live that it makes it so difficult to keep it up. And so I don't mind intermittent fasting as a strategy and tactic. I don't like the framing of a diet around it where you have to do it starting tomorrow. I start intermittent fasting, and then you're starting in 16 hours. I find most people that I work with now, I'm biased because I get all the people intermittent fasting didn't work for when they did it alone. And a lot of times for those people, the intermittent fasting turned to be a great way to create binge eating behaviors. So watch out for that too. Again, there's always good and bad with stuff. And so I like intermittent fasting if you approach it slowly, systematically, start creating some windows of time where you're not eating. I think that's wonderful. And I think it's bad if you approach it like a dieter and you're going to start tomorrow not eating for 16 hours until you lose all the weight. I think that has a very low, small chance of working. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. Amy said, what should I do to fix this and actually lose weight? I want to feel good in my body for once. Well, Amy, that's what you focus on. You want to focus on, this is the hardest part as a dieter because dieters are always, and now, especially if you're listening to me, like if you're listening to me, I know you're an overthinker. That's the only people that listen to me are people that are in their heads thinking all day long. So as a dieter who overthinks, it's like the kiss of death because as an overthinking dieter, you're overthinking the problem. You're always asking questions like, what's wrong with me? How come I can't stick to a plan? Why is this so difficult? Why can't I eat right? Why can't I just lose the weight? Why can't, and it's never ending. And I mean, literally never ending. You are trapped in this echo chamber of shitty questions and then all the shitty answers and stuff you come up with to answer it. That's all bullshit, most of it anyways. So when you can just carve away a little bit of that energy and put it into, how do I want to feel? I'd like to feel good. I'd like to feel good in my body. I'd like to feel lighter. I'd like to feel healthier. I'd like to feel more successful, more empowered, more in control. I'd like to show my mom I can do this. I'd like to show myself I can do this. I'd like to feel better. I'd like to have a future that was bright and I was in control of my weight and how I felt. You see, the more time you spend there, the more you start to build up almost like a magnetism to it, where it kind of pulls you towards it. Think about like the food you struggle with. Think about the motivation that's going on behind the scenes. You're being pulled towards the food you're struggling with, right? Because you're anticipating pleasure from them, right? But when it comes to weight loss, it's like you don't even associate pleasure with weight loss anymore. You associate anxiety and stress and failure and disappointment and all this negative stuff to it. And so there's no real internal motivation to want to even master your weight. There really isn't, because you've been so miswired by the diet industry that you literally associate pain to losing weight at this point. So again, Amy, what you said, your answer is right in what you said there. I want to feel good in my body. That's where I would keep my head. Because every time you eat the bullshit, never mind the weight it puts on your body, but every time you eat the bullshit, ice cream, chips, pizzas, whatever it is that you know isn't the right stuff, as soon as you're done eating that, it doesn't feel good. So it's important to kind of start to reframe our brain around the big picture consequence of the foods we eat. And a lot of times the shitty foods we're eating that we think are so pleasurable are literally the source of our greatest pain. So the more you keep your mindset focused on, I want to feel good, and build on that. What does feeling good mean? Right? What's it mean? You want to have much more detail. So I'll give you an example. I'm not at my goal weight because I want to feel good. Like that's one piece of it. I'm at my goal weight because I want to live as long as I possibly can. I want to have as much energy as I possibly can. I want to be the best father I can possibly be, the best husband I can possibly be, the best son I can be, the best brother, best friend, best coach I can possibly be. I want to run a successful business, and I need to have the clarity of mind, the energy to do that. I want to, have the healthiest body I can possibly have. You know what I mean? So I can just keep going on and on and on, but there's a lot of meaning to my motivation. And for most people with weight loss, there's no meaning to it. It's just this idea that I just want to get to this number. You see, so you got to juice up that number doesn't mean anything subconsciously. So you need to juice up your goal and give it more meaning by speaking in the language and in the way that your subconscious mind understands. Right? And again, so anyone that, if you want to go deeper on what I'm saying here, click the link in my bio and go get the hypnosis session I give you. It's free, and it's called The New Thin Me, and you can get it in the next minute. It's there. And then once you sign up for it, though, I also have a video I made for you. You should watch that video. I kind of go through the whole system and just show you a better way to approach this. A. Sanch says, the obsession begins after dinner of what's next. What can I have my sweet snack? Yeah, exactly. I know that. And that's, talk about hypnosis. That's the hypnosis that you've been conditioned to have through the culture, through the food ads, through your experiences. And that's exactly what we change and program yourself then. We change up the hypnosis in your head. If you're constantly, what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. And that just, that right in a nutshell is the exact reason why I have realized in the last month or so, this is why I changed the whole format of the Program Yourself Thin program. It's really the eating blueprint. It's the Program Yourself Thin technique, the reading rehearsal technique, but it's the eating blueprint because it's exactly what you just said there. What's next? That's all your problems. If you're not structuring your reading, you are 100% grade A fucked because exactly that reason. What's next? As soon as you ask the question, what's next, you're done for in this environment. It's an obesogenic environment. When you say what's next, your brain goes to the tastiest, most delicious, most addictive food it can think of. I'm not asking what's next. I know what's next. I've planned out my eating. Like I have a eating blueprint. And again, it's foods I love, but I have an eating blueprint, so I know what's next. So I don't have to ask that question. I know what I'm saying doesn't even make sense to you, but in a nutshell, what you're saying right there is the whole key to the problem. Because every time you ask what's next, you're starting to become a victim of your dopamine. As soon as you ask what's next, it goes to the most tasty, delicious thing you can think of. And now you're going to spend the night saying, no, 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 no. I program myself after I eat dinner, I'm done. That's one of the mantras in the program, dinner and done. You see, so if that strategy works for you, you know what I mean? Now, again, you may want to eat after dinner, and that's fine too, but you would know what you were going to eat at dinner. You see, and all dieters, what you're doing is you're always, your diet mindset's not a real mindset. Your real mindset is your overweight mindset. The mindset, like when you're just living life, just kind of doing what you're doing, not really thinking about micromanaging your food. You're just kind of living and eating and doing whatever. That's your normal, natural mindset. That's your generative mindset. That mindset creates the behaviors that create the weight you're at. The diet mindset's an anti-mindset. It's not a real mindset in and of itself. Dieting is not about what you're doing. It's about what you're trying to stop yourself from doing. You see? So every time you go on a diet, the best description of it is it's basically you consciously trying to fight against your normal mindset, your automatic mindset. And you can only do it for a little while because we're not built to be conscious creatures. We're built to be on autopilot most of the time. So Program Yourself Thin is about reprogramming your automatic mindset so you naturally and automatically do the things that keep you at your goal weight. So it's a completely different paradigm of weight loss. And it comes right down to the what's next. Yeah, as long as you're asking what's next, good luck. Good luck. I could never do that. Never do it. I don't think you'll ever succeed with the what's next. You have to know what's next and you have to program yourself to eat that thing. There's two things you need to know to master your weight. You need to know what to do and you need to be able to get yourself to do it. And I would suggest you're not learning any of it in a diet. A diet's not what to do. When I say what to do, I'm talking about what to do that's built around you, your preferences, your lifestyle, what gets you the results. Every diet you've tried to follow is just some stranger telling you what to do. They don't know you. They don't know your preferences. They don't know your lifestyle. It's you trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You're just trying to change everything. So you just, I'm not going to, no more carbs. I don't even know why. Ketosis. I don't know. And you have no real, it's not built for you. That's not a strategy custom made for you. So when I say knowing what to do, I'm talking about strategies that are custom built for you, for your preferences, for your lifestyle, for your situation, so that they're easy and automatic. And then there's the Program Yourself Thin technique. How do you get yourself to actually do it? And that's the programming piece. So, anyways, if you want to understand more of that, again, go get the bio, go to my bio, get that free hypnosis session. Lenore says that's true. I don't know what I said, but I'm sure it's true. Crazy Harry, can you share some high-level info about your eating blueprint so maybe we can make one? Yeah, I mean, I will, and I have no problem doing that because, again, my podcast, my goal here is to help as many people as possible master their weight. I will tell you, because, again, as I said, I shifted up the way my program is. You can get the program now without coaching, and it's $297, or you split the payments up. And I understand financial realities, but I understand most people that are on here, you can afford that. And it's a very strong message you send your subconscious mind when you invest $300 in yourself. It bothers me. It doesn't bother me. Like I charge 25 grand for private sessions. So I got to just set the frame here. And so for the last year and a half, it's been $1,000 to get my group coaching program. And I was always on the fence. I'm like, because I do believe, obviously in private coaching, people show up to the level they invest in. Let's be honest. And so, I don't mind giving stuff away for free because I know it does help a lot of people still through the pure repetition. But I do think there's something magic when you invest in yourself. Okay. That being said, though, yeah, the eating blueprint, the high-level eating blueprint piece. And again, I hesitate to say this because, again, it's a two-piece system, really. And there's a lot of bonuses in the program that fill in any other blank spaces you probably have. But the two big things are knowing what to do, knowing how to get yourself to do it. So, again, you could know what to do. You almost are not going to be able to get yourself to do it. They kind of work off each other. I always think of I don't know if you ever saw, there used to be a toy. It would be like two ropes coming down. It was like a monkey or something. And you pull one side and they go up a little bit. And you pull the other side and you kind of shimmy them up the ropes. That's how I think of this process. It's kind of like you're constantly going from figuring out what to do to working on getting yourself to do it, which kind of reveals more of what to do, which reveals more of how to get yourself to do it. And it's kind of always this way between the eating blueprint and the program yourself then technique or the redo rehearsal technique. And so, but I'll give you the big picture of the eating blueprint is that we have clean and pleasure days. So that's the two big distinctions. And I think ideally what I put out there as a best practice is kind of a 5-2 model, 5 days of clean eating, 2 days of pleasure eating. And it's just to silo those intentions. So I started off with 1 clean day of eating, 6 days of pleasure. So it's not even about the numbers in the beginning. It's about the conceptualization of having clean day intention and having a pleasure day intention. And they're both extremely important. The clean day really becomes about how can I nourish myself at the highest levels? And in addition, how can I nourish myself at the highest level by what I put into my body and what I keep out of my body. So on my clean days, I'm really looking to eat the healthiest, wholest, natural, most nutrient-dense, nutrient-rich foods I can eat. And I'm looking to avoid primarily sugar, flour, processed foods, alcohol, just the bullshit, And then the pleasure days, I'm really looking to say, how can I get the most pleasure possible out of the food? Now, I know you're freaking out when I say that, but that's because you associate pleasure with quantity. And that is something the food industry has conditioned into you. And there is some evolutionary bias, basis for that, no doubt, that we evolved in a food scarce environment. So we all have somewhat of a low level anxiety when it comes to food that's in front of us and eating as much as we can. We're wired for that. But now we're in an environment where it's food abundant. So we've really got to master how we're eating within this new world. It's like we're on an alien world is how you have to think about it. It's like they beamed us to Mars and landed us there. That's how you have to think of the environment we're in. It's completely unnatural to what we've evolved in. And so we have to upgrade our mindset and our strategies to thrive and succeed in this environment. So the eating blueprint is an attempt to do that. And so we have clean and pleasure days. Again, I'm going to too deep into it here, but so the clean days, again, I like 3 meals a day, but it's up to you to figure out what works for you. Some people in the program will do 5 meals a day. It's up to you what works best for you. But we start with the first meal a day, and eventually where you end up is you figure out, how do I get the first meal to the second meal comfortably? How do I get the second meal to the third meal comfortably? And we stabilize your eating. And, you might have snacks in there in the beginning as well. Okay, so it's optimizing. We look to develop awareness with our eating, and then we seek to optimize it in a way that's really built for the long term. And so very quickly, because you've never done this before, very quickly you start to understand your body and what works for you. in different situations. And you start to have this blueprint, this blueprint that you can follow that allows you to feel much more at peace with your reading, by not asking the question, what's next, but by knowing what's next. Lolly Gurr says, you've taught me slow and steady success equals consistent progress. Yeah, absolutely. Slow and steady is the real secret, and I know everyone's so impatient with the weight loss, but some of that impatience again is intrinsic. We're born that way, but most of the impatience is conditioned into you by the diet industry. Every single diet ad you've seen millions of them, is the before and after picture and how long it took to go from one to the other. So you've been conditioned to think about weight loss in a short-term time frame, right? We compare that to college. College, you think in a long-term time frame. And so you literally, they've trapped you into a dieting mindset. You're stuck there. You got to change it. And the biggest frame of that mindset is the time frame you think in, that you think in short-term time frames. So again, thinking long-term is really important. Really important. Leonora, exercise helps speed things up. It makes you feel great, but you need to eat right for results. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I once again, I'm not knocking exercise, but I do think if you add exercise to the mix, I think it depends on who you are. If you're a relatively active, exercising type of person who wants to really dial in their weight, well, that's a different story. Most of my clients, to be honest, have not exercised in years. And so to me, it doesn't make sense to add exercising to the whole mix, because that's a lot of extra energy to get yourself to exercise, to figure out what you're going to do, to get the clothes for it, to travel there, to actually exercise, to deal with the shift in schedule, to deal with the extra hunger, to deal with the being tired. There's a lot that goes with exercising when you're starting. And again, I'm not knocking it, but I think we got to look at it and see it with eyes open, that there's a cost to exercising as well. And for my clients, most of the time, the exercising really is more harmful than helpful in the beginning. Again, it's never a bad thing once you got things under control that bring exercise in. But I think most people are served better by thinking, instead of exercising, thinking about how can I move a bit more? How can I get a bit more active? That seems to be a nice stepping stone to exercising, perhaps. So those are my thoughts on that. And again, I have done over almost 6,000 private weight loss sessions. I've been doing this professionally for 20 years. So I'm not talking totally out of my ass. It's what I've seen with real people. And I always get, my clients always say that. They're like, what I like about you is you talk like a real person. And that means a lot to me, because I think the weight loss industry is so full of shit. And they're always talking to you like a weird child. Like they're always telling you what you should do, but it's like so hard to actually do it. And it just sets you up for failure. I feel like the whole weight loss industry sets you up for failure. And I think the exercise piece for most people is one more piece of that, for the reasons I mentioned. Amy says, you're right. I'm overthinking all the time. I know I'm right about that, because no one listens to me that's not an overthinker. I talk too fast. I'm bopping all over the place with things. And I've come to learn that. I literally, I can't ever think of a client I've had that wasn't an overthinker. So I've come to realize that at this point. And that's really what this method's made for, because I know you're up in your head chattering away to yourself all day and night. And what you're saying to yourself is keeping you overweight. And it was me too. What I was saying to myself was keeping me overweight. I had to change what I say to myself. And I will tell you, the change didn't happen from quieting that negative, shitty voice in my head. You can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of neural wiring. So I still have that negative, shitty voice in my head, and it's first on the scene a lot of time. But what I have developed is a coach voice. I have a voice in my head that talks to me very much like I'm talking to you. And it's very supportive, encouraging, and honest, and very solution-oriented and long-term focused, and, very aware of why I want to achieve this goal. And so I may something negative of myself, but this coach voice kind of swoops in and takes over. And that's the difference in my weight in a nutshell, is I talk to myself completely different. If you took my brain and put it in your body, we'd start losing weight tomorrow. I know weight loss backwards and forwards. I'm a master of weight. So, and it all starts with what you say to yourself, What's next? Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's a nerve, right? What's next? Forget about it. Benny Amina, how's it going? Ciao, Jim. Clean day is like fasting from all the bad stuff. No, it's not. It's It's the opposite of that. I'm glad you said that, because there's a big difference. Listen, if you get this, if you get what I'm going to say to you here, I think this is such an important concept to really, really internalize and understand. Your subconscious mind, which is the part of your brain that's in control of your habitual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, it's in control of your weight then, right? Because your eating is a habitual behavior. So your subconscious mind does not understand negatives. If I tell you, don't think about a banana, don't think about a yellow banana, what are you thinking about? A banana. So you think about every diet you've ever done, and it's always about what you have to stop eating. And what happens is it subconsciously fixates you on the exact thing you're trying to consume less of. And that sort of thinking bleeds into all of our thinking about weight loss, right down to the point of like, is a clean day is like fasting from all the bad stuff. So we're looking at, a clean day is an absence of bad stuff. Okay. Now I get it. I think of it that way a little bit too, but I primarily think of it as a way to nourish my body, to feed my body, my mind, my spirit, the most high octane fuel I can give it. For me to operate at my highest level, I want to put these foods into my body. Do you see the difference? Because the fast is about eliminating negative stuff, but now there's a vacuum. What you don't have in your mind that I do have, which is the predominant way I think about clean days, is not that it's an absence of unhealthy stuff, which I recognize that piece of it, but that's a side effect. The main focus is I'm focusing on what I'm putting into my body, what I'm actually doing. Your subconscious mind doesn't just understand negatives. So if I think, okay, well, today I'm not going to eat the ice cream, I'm not going to eat potato chips, I'm not going to eat pizza, I start fixating on those things, and I define this as an absence of those foods. But now there's a vacuum. What am I doing? And so I think of it primarily as, what am I putting in my body? I'm putting salads in my body, I'm putting natural foods in my body, I'm putting water in my body, I'm relaxed, I'm calming down, I'm nourishing myself, I'm putting nutrients in, I'm putting fiber in my body. You see? And so I think of it as what I'm fueling my body with. There's a lot there. I hope you get that, because there's a lot of information packed into that little concept that's transformative. Because when you try and lose weight, folks, you're all thinking about what you have to stop doing. Even your weight loss goal, right down to your weight loss goal. Think about it. Weight loss. Your weight loss goal is some idea. You imagine yourself being overweight. That's the image you make in your mind. The identity you have of yourself is being overweight, and you're going to lose some of it. It's a negative goal. It's not about what you're going to get. So, for example, I suggest my clients, I suggest you, don't frame your weight loss goal in terms of, I'm going to lose X amount of pounds. I want to lose X amount of pounds, because again, it creates an image in your mind of you being overweight and some abstract idea of you losing X amount of pounds. It's very vague. It's unclear. As opposed to start saying, I want to weigh X amount of pounds. Because when you say, I want to weigh X amount of pounds, you start to create an image in your mind of who you want to be. And that's the starting point of the real transformation, because your whole weight loss thing is built around what you don't want. I don't want to keep overeating. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to look like shit in my clothes. I don't want to look bad in pictures. I don't want to look this. I don't want to do that. You're always focused on the negative things you don't want, but you're steeping yourself in all this negative stuff. So the more you can put into, I want to nourish my body. I want to feel more alive. I want to wake up feeling energized. I want to get through the day energized. I want to work at a higher level. I want to control my weight. I want to look better in my clothes. I want to look better in pictures. I want to have better relationships. You know what I mean? I could go on and on and on, but it's all stuff I want. And if you think about your cravings for food, it's always about the foods, the things you want. That's the powerful motivation, is when you have a goal that's so inspiring that you're really fired up and motivated for it. But the way you talk about weight loss doesn't do that. You know, you're not motivated to lose weight. You've got to recognize that right off the bat. Y'all, dieters don't even want to lose weight. They think about it all day long, and they're not even motivated to do it. It's crazy. You know, that's another story. Can I borrow your coach voice? Yeah, right, Kathy. Well, that's what I teach you in the program. I mean, that's literally what I teach you to do. When I talk about programming yourself, then what I'm talking about is that internal voice in your head. Do you know you even have an internal dialogue? Imagine if you're 40 years old and you don't even know you have an internal dialogue and how it's impacting you and how to impact it. That's the saddest, scariest shit I know of. That is literally why I do this for free every day. That little fact right there. That if you're this, because I know you're smart. I know, I'm not gonna say necessarily if it's smart. I know you're an overthinker. I know you're somewhere on the overachieving scale. Thanks for the little gummies. So I know you're smart. I know you're taking action. I know you're doing stuff, but I know you also haven't even learned the most important things of mastering your weight. And if you don't know your internal dialogue, what you're chattering to yourself all day long, holy shit, you just lost. You're lost. Talk about being up a creek without a paddle. If you don't understand that you even have an internal dialogue and you don't know how to influence it, good luck. In the hypnosis world, we always say you are your own best or worst hypnotist because you're up in your head talking to yourself all day and night. That is literally hypnotizing you to be at the weight you're at. So yeah, borrow my coach voice. You can't borrow it, but if you listen to me on my podcast, you get the program, you start listening to all the sessions, you start to install and implement and create your own coach voice. And that's the difference. That's how you live at your goal weight forever, as opposed to just losing some weight and then put it back on, totally different situation and process. Brooks Beauty Bar, quit vaping and now I have about 10 pounds to lose, but I'll get it off. Still happy I quit. Yeah, that's a great distinction. You're better off quitting and then dealing with the weight for sure. Great job. I know that's not the easiest thing to do, so it's a big deal. Benjamin, I got you. Good. What's up, Heather? Jim, I got home from work yesterday and went straight to the couch. I realized I needed a rest. Yes. And I wasn't even hungry for hours when I usually would have eaten before taking off my coat. Yeah, Heather, okay, I want to talk about this real quick because I'm glad you said this because I tell this story sometimes because this is a relatively common thing, especially with overachieving type A hardworking people, is that it's regular for them to come home from work and hit the pantry, and they've been struggling with that for decades. And what the solution is, it's so obvious and so simple, but we miss it because we're not trained to find solutions that really satisfy us and work for us. We're taught to tactics that we force ourselves to do don't really work. So if you've been working hard all day, you're probably tired. And you've just kind of conditioned getting home, being tired, going to the pantry. When in reality, what you're looking for is just a break from the day, a way to recover and re-energize. And sometimes the answer is so obvious, it's right in front of your face, but it's going hanging out on the couch and relaxing. It's going and taking a 20-minute nap. It's going for a walk. It's whatever charges you up. Everyone's different. And it's once you actually genuinely charge yourself up, it changes the whole behavior comfortably, naturally. Because you didn't just stop eating chocolate and sit there and focus on chocolate. You focused on something that made you feel better, which is sitting on the sofa and actually relaxing. Again, this goes back to what I was just talking about with most dieters are always about what they have to stop doing instead of figuring out what would be something they could do to be better. That's the secret to making this automatic and losing the weight forever. I hope that makes sense, people. Great job, Heather. That's a big deal. Kathy said, I hate that bitch. No, I get you. Because you know why, Kathy? Usually that negative voice we all have in our head, it's usually it's like a shitty version of our parents. They call it the pig parent. Again, even if you had great parents, they were still your disciplinarian. And there's certain times when they yelled at you or kind of busted your chops. So you have this internal voice, which is probably some parent voice of when they were kind of the shittiest to you. It might be a boss voice kind of mixed in there as well, but it's a shitty voice that makes us feel bad. And it's very authoritarian and it very much tries to make us feel bad to get us to take the right action. And that's what you're trapped in as a dieter. You're constantly trying to whack yourself with a stick to get yourself to do the right stuff. And it's an internal battle and it sucks. And so it doesn't have to be that way. The coach voice settles everything. Brooke says, I'm telling myself I'm getting hotter every day. That's awesome. Well, you're definitely more hotter because you're not vaping because that's definitely the best look. Jackie says, how do I start to eat intuitively? It seems like a goal that requires steps. Well, Jackie, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Being an intuitive eater as a goal is definitely, that's a long-term goal. And I think that's what bothers me about the concept of intuitive eating is I think people misunderstand it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just listen to my body, listen to myself. No, you won't because your intuitions are all wrong right now. If you're overweight, you got overweight intuitions. I had overweight intuitions. Now I have thin intuitions. So we always listen to our intuitions one way or the other, but you have to develop your own personal thin and healthy intuitions. They're not just there. If you lived in a natural environment, then you could be an intuitive eater. You understand? If I pop you out into the woods, knock yourself out, intuitive eat yourself right down to your goal weight. You will. Okay. But in the real world of America and wherever you may be that you're surrounded by hyper-palatable food all the time, fuck your intuitive eating. You're never going to work. Never going to work. I do not believe it. So what's the alternative? Yes, I think there is steps. And that's what the eating blueprint's all about. It's about figuring out which foods for you do you enjoy, are relatively easy to make, get you to your goal weight, and what's the other one? What did I say? Enjoy, easy to make, get you to your goal weight. Is that it? I feel like I'm missing one of them. I can't remember. But figuring out how you're going to eat in a way that really works for you is really, I think, the best strategy to actually become an intuitive eater. Like, I'm an intuitive eater now, but it's not in the way you think, because I live in a food abundant environment. So I don't just wake up in the morning and be like, oh, Jim, what do you feel like eating? I'm not doing that. I already know what I'm going to eat. I know I'm going to eat for breakfast. Depending if it's a clean day or a pleasure day, I already know what I'm going to eat. So my intuitions are not like you're thinking. Like, I'm just walking around all day, just checking in with myself, seeing what I want to eat, eating the right stuff. I don't think that works for anyone. It certainly wouldn't work for me. Let me put it that way. And so my strategy is to have structure to what I want to eat. Now, there's variety in it too. So I know you say, oh, I can't eat the same thing every day. You don't have to eat the same thing every day. You can have as much variety as you want. Now, you have to take into account that the more variety, the more challenging it is. Because the more variety, the more things you have to, you have to procure. You have to be able to prepare. There's just more. So again, variety comes at the expense of ease. The less variety you require, the easier it is. And so that's one of my superpowers. I don't give a shit if I eat the same breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday. I don't care, because I'm lazy. I don't like cooking different stuff. I don't like cooking the easy shit I cook. I'm lazy when it comes to eating the food. So I've really organized my eating blueprint around laziness and laziness. I can't tell you. You wouldn't believe how lazy I am with the eating, but I've used it as a strength. So, I think to start eating intuitively, I will tell you this. So this is what I'll give you, is that I think it's important to have two types of days. I think clean and pleasure days are extremely important. The pleasure days are important too, and you won't understand what they mean. And I just don't feel like explaining it right now in detail. But the clean days you'll get, and clean days are really just having healthier days, not all of the days. I know as a dieter, you just want to start having healthy days until you reach your goal weight. But that alone is a great strategy to knock yourself off course. The second you think you're never going to eat sugar, you're never going to eat carbs, see how obsessed you get with them. So it's there's no strategy with people's weight loss plans. There's no strategy at all. It's just tactical, and tactical stuff doesn't work well. But I don't know. So clean days is you start with your first meal of the day and start experimenting and seeing what you can eat first meal of the day that gets you to your next meal of the day comfortably. So that's the steps in essence. You just keep repeating that, and you figure out, again, it depends how much variety you need, and whatever other issues may come up for you. But basically it's figuring out, if I eat this, I get to the next meal comfortably. If I eat this, I get to the next meal comfortably. And so we have to take into account, like, how satisfying is it, right? How long does it keep me full? How much do I enjoy it? It's got to be at least relatively enjoyable. If you hate eating the food, you're never going to stick with it. So at the very least, you got to be at least neutral in terms of how much you like it. It better be pretty easy, because I find most people, they do crazy shit for the first week of their diets and they can't keep it up. So whatever your food is, it better be easy to make and procure as well. And if you don't make that part of your criteria, let me know how it goes. All right. But I think once you figure out, like, oh, okay, here's a breakfast I can eat. It's nourishing, it's satisfying, it's easy to make, I enjoy it enough, and it gets me to lunch comfortably. Like, once you got that, boom. We got one. Now, how much variety you need? Well, I need more than one. That. Okay, well, 2 or 3 more of those. Now you got those 3 clean breakfasts that you can choose from. You see what I'm saying? And you just follow the process the same way for the other ones. Yeah. You're welcome. But again, what I'm saying won't make much sense without the bigger context. So make sure you all go to my bio, click the link, get the hypnosis session, and watch the video I made for you. Because it's 20, 25 minutes, and it gives you a bigger picture explanation of what I'm talking about, I think, in a more compelling way. But the eating blueprint is, again, I have learned that from my clients over the last couple months. Really, it's really become clear to me. I almost thought the blueprint, I almost treated as secondary to the mindset stuff, but I'm starting to realize, the eating blueprint is everything, because your weight is a reflection of what you're eating. Like, if I don't even need to change your mindset to make you lose weight. If I had you in jail and I controlled your eating blueprint, I'd make you lose weight. So you see what I'm saying? So that's what it really dawned on me, that once you know how to eat and you know what to eat that works for you, that's so important too, obviously. I know that's obvious, but I've been so wrapped up in the mindset for so long. So anyways, one of the big things I help people in the program. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Great questions as usual. Great comments. Appreciate you all so much. And thank you for sharing all that stuff. Make sure you go to my bio, click the link, get the hypnosis session, and watch the video I made for you. Read the emails I send you. Utilize the trainings I give you. I give you free stuff when you sign up. So go check that out. And listen to the podcast. Podcast is Program Yourself Thin, and it's on all the podcast platforms. A new one every day. We do this every day here live too. So if you ever have questions, feel free to ask them. I'm happy to help you out. And yeah, that's it. All right, everyone, have a super duper day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.